7th chords. They can be a little confusing. Major 7, minor 7, dominant 7, half-diminished 7. Well, today we're going to take a look at what 7th chords are. And I'm going to show you an easy way to play a major 7 chord. And from that one simple shape, we're going to derive all the other 7th chord shapes. That's what we're doing today on Ray Plays Guitar. And I'm going to do it as simply as possible. Let's get into it. 7th chords. What are they? Let's start with a major 7. A major 7 is just the first, third, fifth, and 7th notes of a major scale. This is C. If this was the first note of a scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Play those notes together, we have a C major chord. If we add the 7th note of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now we have what's called a major 7 chord. We added the 7th note of a major scale. The distance between the first note and the 7th note of a major scale, that interval is known as a major 7, okay? That's the main reason why this chord is called a major 7 chord. And while we're here, let's talk about all the other 7th chords. If I play the first, third, fifth, and 7th notes of a major scale, we have a major 7 chord. If we take that 7th scale degree and flat it, now we have what's called a dominant 7 chord. In this case, it's called a C7. When you see just a chord symbol and the number 7, that's a dominant 7 chord, okay? So, we started with a major 7. That's the 7th note that naturally occurs in a major scale. But if you take that 7th note, that major 7, and flat it, now we have a dominant 7th chord. So we have a C major triad with a flatted 7th, also known as a minor 7th. That interval of the root to the flatted 7th is known as a minor 7th. So this is a dominant 7 chord, C dominant 7, or simply C7. Now, if we take the third of this chord and flat that note, take this note and move it down here. I'm going to rearrange my fingers a little bit so I can get to this. This is a minor 7 chord. Root, flat third, fifth, flat 7. Now, if we take the fifth and flat that, so we have a root, flat third, flat 5, and a flat 7. This is called a half-diminished 7, also known as a minor 7 flat 5. Now, if we take that flatted 7th and double flat it, that's right, I said double flat it. Double flat the 7. This is now known as a fully diminished chord. Every note is separated by a flatted third. So those are our 5 7th chord qualities. Major 7, root 3, 5, 7. Dominant 7, root 3, 5, flat 7. Minor 7, root flat 3, 5, flat 7. Half-diminished 7, root flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. And fully diminished 7. Root, flat 3, flat 5, and a double flatted 7. Now, I was showing you those qualities in this position just so you can kind of easily see the notes being moved and flatted. But I'm going to show you a really cool voicing to use, and these are called drop 3 inversions. I'm going to explain what a drop 3 inversion is at the end of the video, because right now I want to get into playing it. This is a major 7 shape. I have a root, major 7, major 3rd, and then the 5th here. These 3 notes, it's kind of like an A minor shape if you played an A minor down here. If you took those and moved them up here and put that as the root, G is the root, we have a G major 7 chord. It's also kind of, you can also think of it like this. You might have played this chord, like a B minor bar chord. Well, keep these 3 fingers and then just take that root and move it to here. So here's our G major 7 shape. root, 7, 3rd, 5th. Now, to make this a dominant 7, we just take this 7 and flat it. Move it to here. Again, I'm going to rearrange my fingers to get to this. G dominant 7. Root, flat 7, 3rd, and a 5th. Now if we take this 3rd and flat that, again, I'm rearranging my fingers. We have a root, flat 7, flat 3, and a 5th. This fingering I'm using my 2nd finger to grab the root, and then my 3rd finger is barred across those other 3 strings. I really did not like this fingering when I first tried it, but it has grown on me and become my favorite way to play this. You can also do it like this, grabbing the root with your thumb and doing that with your index finger. You can also do use a separate finger for every note, however you want to do it. I suggest doing it with fewer fingers because then you have some other fingers available to do other things. Anyway, minor 7, root, flat 7, flat 3, and a 5. Now if we take that 5 and flat that, this is a half-diminished 7. Or another way this chord is written is minor 7 flat 5. We have a minor 7. This is the minor 7 part of it, and then the flat 5 over here. G minor 7 flat 5, or G half-diminished 7. Now, if we take this flatted 7th and flat it again, so it's a double flat, again, rearranging my fingers, this is a fully diminished 7. Since every note in a fully diminished 7 is a flatted 3rd away from each other, we can take this shape and move it in minor 3rds. And we're just playing inversions of itself. These are all the same chord. So, major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, half diminished 7, fully diminished 7. So all of those shapes have their root on the 6th string. Now we can take this shape and let's shift everything down a string, so putting a root on the 5th string. What that does, however, we have to adjust for that B string. So a major 7 winds up looking like this. We have a root, our 7th is over here, our 3rd is up here, and I'm grabbing the 5th on the 1st string with my 2nd finger. Root, 7th, 3rd, 5th. Now if we take the 7th and flat it, rearranging my fingers again, we get this shape. Yeah, it's a little difficult. It's a little tricky. I'll talk about that in a second. But here we got it. Root, flat 7, 3rd, and a 5. Now if we take this 3rd and flat that, so we have a root, flat 7, flat 3rd, and a 5. That's a minor 7. Now if we take that 5th, that's on the 1st string, and flat that, here we have the half diminished, or minor 7 flat 5, C minor 7 flat 5, or C half diminished 7. Now if we take that flatted 7th and flat that again, fully diminished. Now we can play diatonic chords using these. 1 chord is major 7, 2 is minor 7, 3 is minor 7, 4 is major 7, 5 is dominant 7, 6 is minor 7, 7 is half diminished 7, and then the 8th chord is the same as the root, obviously. Back to a major 7. Here's a little progression that we could play in the key of C that takes us through all of the chords in that key. If we start on C, major 7 here, 6th string root, I'll just play through the progression so you can hear it first. So what's going on here, I'm starting with the C major 7, it's the 1 chord. Then I'm going to the 4 chord. But I'm playing it like this. I'm kind of leaving off the 1st string. I'm leaving off the 5th. Why? Because it's a lot easier to play it that way when you leave off the 5th. And I'm leaving off the 5th because the 5th is kind of a neutral tone in this instance. In any 7th chord, you have your root, note that the chord is built off of, and then you have your color tones, which is your 3rd and your 7th. So here we have a 3rd and the 7th. Play that on top of the root. We have all the necessary ingredients to evoke a major 7 tonality. If we add the 5th, sure, it's cool, but we can leave that off and it still sounds like a major 7 chord. Unless we're altering the 5th, we really don't need the 5th present to get the tonality of that chord. We just need the root and the color tones. So the 5th is the note that's the first to go. So I can get away with playing these the 5th string root chords and leave off the 5th, and these shapes suddenly become very simple to play. So, going from a C major 7 to F major 7, then a B half diminished 7 to an E minor 7, A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, dominant 7, oops, and then ending on C major 7 again. So that was in the key of C. That was a progression that covers all the diatonic chords in the key of C. Are you familiar with the song Hold the Line by Toto? Hold the line. Love isn't always on time. That's the chorus of the tune, big power chords. But in the verse, he uses a lot of these 7th chords. Etc., etc. Really cool tune. The chords in the verse, so first of all, yeah, it's in F sharp minor. So what is that? That's A major. So I guess that would make this the 2 chord. B minor 7, C sharp minor 7, and then F sharp minor 7. And then off of this, I was kind of doing this little bass move, holding these 2 fingers down, but hitting that 5th and then the flatted 7th and then back up to there. And I'm muting all the strings that I'm not using. And then a little chromatic bass move down to that B minor 7 again. Does this twice, but then starts climbing up, goes to the next chord in the scale, which is a C major 7, and then up to a D major 7, excuse me, and then an E dominant 7. And then does that again. Again. All the things that you say that you do. Hold the line. Oops. Hold the line. And that leads you right into the chorus. That's the whole song, just those 2 parts. And then Steve Lukather busts out this really wicked solo over the chorus. Anyway, really cool tune. Check it out. What about Drive by INCUBUS? That's not the way the guitarist in Incubus plays it, but these are the chords. I kind of like it the way I play it a little more open. But check out what's going on here. It starts with an E minor 7. So I have a root, it's a 5th string root shape, E minor 7. What I'm doing though is I'm taking this flatted 3rd and I'm doubling it an octave lower, which is right here. So I have a root, flat 3rd, flat 7, and a doubled flat 3rd. If I leave this flatted 3rd off, I still have all the makings of a minor 7 chord. Root, flat 3rd, and a flat 7. I have the root and the 2 color tones. We're leaving off the 5th here. And a lot of times I will play these 7th chords with this voicing, doing the root, the 3rd, and the 7th. You can do root, major 3rd, flat 7, root, 3rd, major 7. Anyway, by putting the flatted 3rd up here, I can bring that back a half step to access the 9. So now I'm playing a E minor 9 chord. It's an E minor 7 with a 9. And I'm also playing the open E strings, both of them, with this. Then going to a C major 7 chord. 6th string root shape, root on the 8th fret, major 7, still leaving the 1st string open because that note's in the chord still also. Then to an A minor 7, and here I'm playing just the root, flatted 7th, and the flatted 3rd. You could play this shape with the open 2, with the first 2 strings open, or you could do this cool move. Take your first finger and put it over here on the 3rd fret 2nd string. That's the 11th of the chord. Play that note with the open 1st string. It's a really nice lush chord. What does this work out to be? The open 1st string turns out to be the 5th of the chord, so this is an A minor 11 chord. It's an A minor 7 with an 11, so we just call it A minor 11. If you see a number on a chord symbol that's above 7, it's assumed that the 7 is in there. I want to share one more progression with you. This is a progression a student of mine turned me on to. This is a band called TUYU. T-U-Y-U, I think? I could be wrong. I'll have the link down in the description. But let me play through this progression, then I'll show you what it is. So yeah, I think the band is called TUYU, and the name of the song is, I think it's Raining Again or something. Looks like Rain Again or something like that. Anyway, here are the chords. E major 7. 5th string root. E on the 7th fret here. E major 7. Leaving off the 5th on all of these chords. We're just playing root and then the 2 color tones. The 7th and the 3rd. Root 7th, 3rd. Now I'm going to bring these back a half step each. Playing an E minor 7, then bring everything back a half step, D sharp minor 7, then down to the 4th fret, G sharp minor 7. Then it starts that way again, E major 7, E minor 7, C sharp minor 7, but this time G sharp dominant 7. Then we start again, E major 7, E minor 7, D sharp minor 7, G sharp minor 7, then we go to the 2 chord, C sharp minor 7, 5 chord, F sharp dominant 7, ending with the 1 chord, B major 7. So, what is a drop 3 inversion? This is a jazz thing. If you take any closed voicing of a chord, in this case, we're going to do a G major 7, 3rd inversion, which means the 7th is the lowest note. We have the 7, root, 3rd, and then the 5th. But in this case, we count from the top. We count this as the 1, as the first note, 1, 2, 3, 4, for some reason. Well, we're going to take the 3rd note here, 1, 2, 3, which happens to be the root, and drop it an octave. That's the drop 3. Taking the 3rd note and dropping it. Not the 3rd, but the 3rd note in this order. And dropping it. Giving us this shape. And that's a drop 3 inversion. So that was a quick overview of 7th chords and how to play them using drop 3 inversions. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. And if you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit that like button, share this video with your friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit that bell. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. We'll see you next time.